Hi everybody and welcome. So, how do you create music for a pirate game? Today we're going to break down a track that I created for a pirate-themed game a few years back. We're going to talk about arrangement, chords, we're going to talk about the melody and question-answer in melodies. If you're new to my channel, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my upcoming videos. Okay, my name is Matthias, let's take the tour. Okay, so pirate themes. Today we're working in Studio One. So let's first listen through this little track and then we will break it down and talk about the different pieces. Yeah, so you get the idea here. So, as you can see, there's not a lot of instruments in this track, but generally you don't need too many instruments to convey your idea or get the idea across. So in this one, we're relying heavily on some cello instruments, because you've all seen Pirates of the Caribbean, and we have a lot of these staccato cellos. Okay, so one good thing here in Studio One is that we can activate all these tracks and look at them at the same time in the piano roll. I know you can do this in other DAWs too, but it's a good way of just getting a broad picture and see how the instrumentation is spread out on this track. And we can see for the first part of the track, the beginning here, we have a kind of narrow field of instruments spread out across the keyboard range. Then as we progress into the track, they are more spread out. So we get more in the low end and also more in the high end. And then for the final opus of the track here, we have some extra stuff going on in the bass region. And we have the top line. So for the introduction, we're working with that cello, which plays a small portion of the melody. Okay, so let's look at this droning sound in the background for the introduction. So we have this Omnisphere pad, and if I deactivate the plugins on this track, it will sound like this. So it's a kind of nice pulsing sound, but I thought it was a little bit of obtrusive. So I added a little bit of wash of reverb at 100% with this Valhalla Room reverb, and we have the LV426 reverb mode. And quite a long decay on the reverb. And that will wash out this sound and make it a little bit less obtrusive. Then we have this EQ with a resonating peak at around 550 Hz, 600 Hz something. And we also have it in bandpass mode. So this will give this a very narrow field. This also places this sound a little bit more in the background. So let's listen with these plugins. So that way we push this ostinato pad a little bit more in the background. Let's look at the other sounds in the introduction here. We have a harp going on, and it sounds soloed like this. And basically that's just the root note. And we have the fifth, which is the C. So we have the F and C. So we're basically just playing the root note, octaves, and a fifth. And this little harp gives you a little backdrop to that cello melody. Let's listen to them together. But I also chose to double this harp with the piano to give it a little bit more depth. So here we are doing some layering. So we have the same thing being played with the harp and the piano, but the piano is an octave above, but playing the same, basically the same notes. And aside from that, in the intro we have a bass called Legno. So it's a kind of a quite sharp sound, and that's because I wanted to give a little bit more snappy attack to that cello, because the cello in itself has a quite smooth attack, if you will. But if we add that called Legno, and it also gives us a little bit of percussion and rhythm to this melody. And then we have this harp glissando. And all these sounds are coming from East-West Play. I have a lot of different orchestral libraries, but back when I was doing this cue, I think I was heavily relying on the East-West Symphonic Orchestra. So here we have the harp glissando from, it's a major glissando, up and down, from East-West Packages Symphonic Orchestra. And now we are coming to the major melody and major part of this track. And it's played by a cornet. And I think it's from Vienna Instruments. Vienna Instruments has some really, really nice up front and up close patches. And this one, the cornet here, is coming from the Epic Orchestra. Yeah, so if you grab the Vienna Instruments, I think you get the Epic Orchestra with the package, if I remember correctly. So it's a legato patch, very simple patch, but we have some reverb on that one. And let's look at the melody here. So that's all chord notes. Okay, so let's break down what the melody is doing here. And the main lead is played by a cornet, which is a kind of instrument similar to the trumpet, but it has this different cone. And we also have the oboe. And you often use trumpets, military snares, etc. if you want to depict kind of war scenarios. And since this is pirates, we are depicting the war between the English and the pirates. So we make use of the cornet, which is kind of a trumpet instrument. So let's look at the melody. So all the notes in the melody here is from the F minor scale, and we have. So the first melody note is on the F in our F minor chord. Then we go down to that E flat and play the third as our melody tone. Then we go down to the chord, which is the C minor. It's all in the scale so far. Then comes the second part of this melody, which is from the E flat. So the third, the fourth, and the fifth. And that's the D flat. Just jumping from the third to the root of the D flat. And then we have our C major seventh chord. And make use of the E here, which isn't from the scale, but it's a very important note from our C major seventh chord. Or we could play to play the seventh here in the chord, so that we emphasize that this is the seventh chord. and then resolve back to the F. Then after that we have, this is our question in the melody, because then we have an oboe taking over the melody on this second part, and this other melody is like an answer to the first cornet melody. So let's listen to both of them here. Yeah, so now when we have established our melody and the chords, on this final part of the track, we just emphasize these sounds. So we add more of everything, so to speak. So on the second part here, we have some basses added, which plays in octave below our cellos. So we have, you can see we have F0 and F1, and then yeah, go down to D sharp and the C, etc. And we also add some solo cellos, some extra cellos with cinematic strings too. And this is playing this kind of melody. So basically we're just emphasizing that rhythm that we got going. And the same thing with the anvil over here. It's also emphasizing our rhythmic section. And we also have a tambourine here, doing the same thing basically. So we emphasize all the sounds that we already have, so we have some layers going on here. And for the final part of this pirate track, we have that Collegno bass coming back, and we also have a few extra notes on that solo cello to bring this seamlessly back and to be able to loop good, since this is a game loop. Here we have that extra little melodic line leading back to the introduction. So let's listen to that. Yeah, so I think this phrase at the end of the track can really help this song work around seamlessly. So that's my tip. If you're working with game music, make sure to have that few extra lines and bring back maybe some of the sounds that you will have in the introduction, like we have done here with the Collegno bass. Okay, so that's my little tip on how you can create a pirate song in Studio One or any other DAW. If you have any questions on the methods or the chords, music, melody, anything in this little cue, please let me know in the comments. Okay, so that wraps it up for today. I hope you'll have a really nice weekend in the Caribbean. Thanks a lot for watching today. Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification so that you get a notice when I release new videos. My name is Matthias. See you in the next video. Bye.